So a little bit of background. As many of you know, our population is getting older and older every year. We have many more people that are living into old age and are experiencing the challenges associated with living longer. These can include physical limitations such as geographical distance, personal mobility issues, as well as lack of time that can keep older people from maintaining contact with their friends and family and enjoying their hobbies. Luckily, we have the advent of technological advancements that can make it so much easier in this day and age for people to stay connected across the country and even across the world. However, if you think about it, there are so few older adults who are utilizing this when they may be the ones who need it the most. One reason for that is the digital divide, in which older people are not equipped to use these technologies because they don't have the experience with them. People in our generation and younger take it for granted. We're in constant contact with the internet, technology, social media, and we're all proficient in those skills because we use them every day, honestly. I mean, you pull your phone out when you're waiting in line or all kinds of things. Unfortunately, older people have not had this opportunity throughout their whole life and growing up, so they may not be equipped to master these skills as easily. One example that many of you may have also encountered is with your own family members. My grandfather recently has been getting into using social media, and I logged into Facebook the other day, and he'd posted on my wall, "Abby, please help, I can't log into Facebook." And I was like, "Grandpa, you're on Facebook already?" So obviously there's quite a ways to go with older people and using these things. And recently there's been a lot of fake news. And again, I've had family members fall victim to that and think that crazy things have happened and call me and be like, "Oh, this is happening. Have you heard?" And I'm like, "It's not happening." So they're very susceptible to some of these things, and that's a problem that needs to be combated as well, so that they can really take advantage of these opportunities and enjoy a better quality of life and decrease depression and things like that. As I was just starting to get into, there's empirical support for projects such as this that look to increase older adult activity online and in social media. In one, participants felt less lonely and more in control and more pleased with the quality of their life from using the internet. And then another, support from volunteers increased the number of contacts that older adults had with family and friends, and it also increased the number of relatives that they felt close enough that they could call to for help. So these studies looked more at, one looked more at the internet, and there are many such as that that have shown to decrease in depression and increases in quality of life. And then there are just a few with the specifics of social media that have been coming up recently that showed similar results. So for my project, it will be specifically aimed at combating the issue of loneliness and social isolation through the use of social media training. Unlike those other projects, I will focus specifically on social media and even more specifically on Facebook. Facebook has 1.79 million active users, and so being such a large social media site, they also have one of the largest age diversities with the highest demographic in older adults. So that is why I really targeted them for the purpose of this project. So I will teach classes to help older adults to better navigate these sites and stay safe while doing so. I'll teach them not only how to use it, but how to recognize things such as fake news and spam and gimmicks and things like that. The classes will be provided to the Senior Circle of Lutheran Health Network and the Community Center of Fort Wayne. Both of these organizations work with improving the quality of life for older adults in the Fort Wayne area. So at the Community Center, the class title will be Facebook Safety and Basic Skills. I plan to teach it every Wednesday for about an hour and a half for 4 weeks, and the demographic set by the Community Center is 55 and older. I'd like to see more involvement of people above that age group, because I feel that people who are around 55 are still working and they have a pretty good grasp on many of these skills. Of course, we'll be open to them, but I hope to see more people that are 65, 75 and older, because I think they're the ones that really need this the most. And being offered Wednesdays in the middle of the day, I think that I will see that population being more involved rather than people who are slightly younger. So the class size is about 10 to 15 people. I've met with the coordinators of the Community Center, and they've said that that is a pretty typical turnout, and that's also what their facility can support. So as I'm getting into, the facility will provide computers and printing services for the materials for my class. That greatly alleviates financial issues associated with the project, and it also gives us a place where we can get together, and there are computers that they can use any time of the year so they can practice their skills on location. I will require for the class that they have basic internet skills. As I said, I'm not trying to teach all of the internet. That'd be way too big of scope for this project. I just want to teach them how to use Facebook. So they need to be able to open an internet browser and navigate to a website page. But other than that, I'm accepting any level of Facebook ability. For Lutheran Senior Circle, their class setup is a little bit different. They typically offer more single session seminar style classes, so I will adapt my class to fit that type of teaching. The demographic again is 55 and older. Just as before, this class size can support more 15 to 20 people, and because it will be a one-time seminar class, I'm requesting that they have more than just basic internet skills and also have already a Facebook account already existing, because I think that'd just be too much to cover in one sitting. So for this class, they do not have computers or devices on location. Therefore, I will ask participants to bring their own portable devices, but I'll also be seeking to have portable devices donated by area businesses. So I would like to measure what I'm doing here. I want to make sure that this intervention is having the effect that it's supposed to have. The people can work better on the internet and also experience a decrease in loneliness. So the survey will be a pre-test, post-test method, and I'll administer it before the start of the class, and then again after the completion of the class. For the survey, I plan to collect the basic demographic information as with any survey. I also plan to collect their level of computer skill and knowledge prior to the class, because I think that could have a real effect on how quickly they're able to pick up the technology and learn what I want them to learn. And then additionally, of course, I'll measure the perceived level of loneliness. And it says perceived loneliness because I guess it doesn't really matter how lonely you truly are, it's how lonely you feel, and that's what's important to this project. So I also, with the class size, I think that 10 to 15 people who are completely lost on how to use social media might be too much for me to handle. So I will be seeking out 3 to 5 volunteers for each class meeting. I'd like to have a ratio of about 1 to 3 for teacher to student ratio. I'll be seeking out some of the other Summit Scholars, so if anyone's interested, you know where to find me. And the incoming freshmen, that's a component of our scholarship program is service, so I think that they will be eager to help. In addition to that, there are classes on campus such as the biology of aging, and then Professor O'Connor teaches a social media class, and they both have service learning components, and the professors of those classes have already told me that this would be a perfect avenue for their students to meet those requirements. Excuse me. Additionally, to make sure that they're learning and being engaged with the media that we were trying to use, I will have an activity log. I'll have them keep track of how much time they spend on Facebook and what activities they complete. I'll also have assignments such as navigating to a certain group and requesting to join it, or posting a certain amount of times, just things so that I can ensure that they're practicing what they're learning and they don't learn something and then lose it in a week. So my plan of action this fall, I've already completed lunch and learns with professors on campus about research, grant writing, and the IRB, and additionally along with that, completed the city training for the IRB. I also have met with and secured a faculty mentor in Dr. Elliot Blumenthal, who's been a great help so far. In March, I've reached out to potential hosts. I reached out to three groups in Fort Wayne, however only 2 were able to host this class, and I've already talked about the community center and its Lutheran Senior Circle. So I, in March, also met with the coordinators at the community center and nailed down some of those details that you saw before, and we will continue to work together going forward to make this class the best that it can possibly be. And this April, I've been developing the materials, and obviously here I'm presenting to you all today. In May, I will begin requesting donations for devices, as well as meeting with the coordinators at Lutheran to get some details for that class worked out as well. And going forward into the summer, I will finalize my survey, and I'll have to submit my project to the internal review board for certification, because I'm working with seniors. They're a sensitive population, and I know that there might be some difficulty with that. I'm going to try and get it done as early as possible. In July, I will finalize the curriculum and finish the creation of the course materials. And then in August, I will acquire and train the volunteers. I want them to have a little bit of background of what we're doing and how to interact with the participants and what's appropriate and what's not, just so that we don't have any hiccups that I would be responsible for in dealing with the class. And then in August also, I will print the materials, and the last week of August and into September, I will provide the pretest and begin teaching classes at the Fort Wayne Community Center. Going forward again into October, I will teach the seminar class at the Senior Circle, and then distribute the surveys hopefully 2 weeks after the completion of either class. I want to do it 2 weeks later so that the effects of what they've learned, they've had a chance to take them home and use them and really feel the impact of what they've been doing for the last couple weeks and be able to see if the implementation of the class actually made a difference. In November, I will analyze that data and also begin making video lectures. January and February, I will distribute the materials to the hosts, and then in March and April, I hope to see you all back here for the presentation of the results of the project. For the materials for my class, I plan to use screenshots from my computer to create lesson plans that have not only those pictures, but also written instructions that they can follow along with in the class and also take home with them so that they can remember what we did in class so they can get back to their site and back in and do things that we did in class that they might forget a small little detail. I don't want them to be stuck for a whole week because they forgot what we taught. And then I will also use PowerPoint presentations similar to this one. They'll have the handouts and other little things that they can navigate through to be able to keep up with the class. The survey will be composed of items mostly from previous studies and then a few things that I will add for my own purposes. So to go a little deeper into the survey, obviously I'll collect demographic items such as age and gender and previous internet knowledge. Some questions that would try and ascertain this level of knowledge would be about how much time do you spend on social media sites weekly, and then they'll be able to choose less than an hour, 1 to 3, and so on. Additionally, I'll ask them to select all the types of social media platforms on which they currently have an account. Hopefully some of them will already have Facebook. I'd be pretty surprised if there were a lot of people who had, Instagram at this demographic, but I want to provide the option to make sure if they're interested. Those are things that would be part of this survey. So the perceived loneliness aspect, the part that's really the scientific discovery part of this project, I'm using the UCLA loneliness scale. It's been shown in other experiments to have Cronbach's alpha about 0.85 or higher almost every time it's been used. You rate the statements on a Likert rating scale where, let's say a scale of 1 to 4, you select how much you agree with the statement. And those include items such as there are a lot of people that I feel close to or I feel left out. And then obviously one of those would be reverse scored so that a high score indicates very lonely. Additionally, there will be materials for the class, obviously. So the community center, because it's a four-week class, I will have different lesson plans. The first lesson will focus on creating an account, finding friends, and setting up your privacy preferences. Then moving on to lesson 2, I'll teach them how to post a status and pictures on a timeline and how to like and comment on others' posts. In lesson 3, they will learn to send messages and what information is appropriate to share with others and when it's safe and when not too safe to share certain things. You'd be surprised how often older adults and anyone really can be tricked into sending money or personal information that gets them into trouble later on, and that's something that's really important to this project. I don't want to just give them the tools and then set them up to have a huge failure or setback. So that will be a big part of the lessons. And then lesson 4, I want to show them how to share posts with friends and recognize fake news and gimmicks. And then at Lutheran Senior Circle, I'll have the same topics, but in an abbreviated fashion. There, I might focus more in that setting on questions that they might have, seeing as how I'm going to require that they will have a higher level of skill in social media. So here's an example of one of my lesson plans. On this first page, it instructs them to open the internet browser and navigate to Facebook. I tried to be as clear as possible and provide way more steps than necessary to make it as easy as possible, and then show pictures of what it should look like when you get there. So when you type in facebook.com, this is what you should see. And then I provide these arrows to show them what information they should type in, fill in for themselves. On this page, I describe how to use a drop-down box. Again, I just want to be as thorough as possible so that there's no stumbling blocks for them to be able to access this technology. And then you can click create an account. And then this part, there are parts where it gets a little bit tricky, so this is the part where volunteers would come in, and I've built into the materials. At this point, please see a volunteer if you're having any trouble, because here you have to click on, to confirm to your email, and it takes you to your email, and you have to follow some different steps, and they vary depending on the platform that you use for your email. So I encourage them, if they are having any trouble, to seek out a volunteer, and this will be the times when they're most helpful, so we can keep the class going and get through all the material that we want to get through. Then here, congratulations, you've created your own Facebook account, and I've created one that's specifically not connected with my personal material or my personal information, so that I can interact with them in a way that's safe for me and safe for them. Also, you can see this I included because I want to show you how I'll integrate some of the topics that are safety related. Here it says, remember, do not request to be friends with or accept the friend request of anyone that you do not know. Again, that may be common knowledge to us, but you'd be surprised just how many people are friends with total strangers, and that's a big pitfall and a good way to get set up to fail in using social media. Also, in line with media rights, I have blocked out the name in the picture, the last name in the picture of the people who appear here. This is a search for myself, so I removed my last name, and then this is someone else who came up and I removed their last name and their photo in order to protect the privacy rights of others that will be online. So again, this is showing them just how to add a friend. And we move on now to funding. Because I will be volunteering completely all of my time, and the aides in the class will be volunteer, there will be no cost associated with that. The community center also providing the computers and the printing services will help to alleviate some of the costs that could be associated with the project. Also, I will seek to be having portable devices donated for the senior circle class, and then also have one of those devices or a gift card to be donated for survey incentive, just to increase the participation, and there should be no additional funding necessary for this project. Sustainability, there will be instructional handouts that I'm producing that I will distribute to the host that they can distribute to people who are unable to take the class or maybe forgot some of the information that was taught, or if other teachers they're at those locations want to take over the class and continue it, or some of the volunteer aides get really passionate about this project and want to jump in and take over in subsequent years, they'll have those handouts that they can use so that the bulk of the work will be done. It will just, a body to be knowledgeable and interact with the people and disseminate this knowledge. Also, I briefly mentioned the creation of video lectures. For some people, as I said, part of this project is a geographical limitation. So if I can provide these video lectures, provided that they can navigate to them, they'll be able to see the lecture and understand what I'm talking about and follow along, and hopefully be able to experience one of these classes without actually having to be physically in the location. And this could be useful even at one of those facilities where maybe no one else wants to teach it, but there's still interest. They could just show the video and then have the class be taught without a physical instructor in the room. So with that, I thank you for your attention and open it to questions. Yes.
You mentioned that they have to confirm their email and everything.
Yes.
You also mentioned that the only prerequisite for the lower level one would be using a web browser.
Yes.
What if they simply don't have an email?
That will be part of what the volunteer, those types of things are things where it requires a little bit more involvement, and I know that some people already have an email account, some people will not. So in that case, I would use some of the volunteers to help them set up an email, thus that they could continue with the steps. So that would be more of the one-on-one basis where things come into play where you need specific help in creating an email and then creating your account. But yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. That's an important part of it. So, yes.
I really like the project because my grandma actually just got on Facebook, and I feel your pain because I get a call like once every month. So, hey, Brian, I need you to help me with my iPad and my Facebook thing. And
yeah.
It's usually something really normal, so I really like that. But do you see, like, maybe after you finish, like, this Facebook, I guess, like, lecture series? I don't know if you want to call it that. But do you see yourself, like, maybe, like, doing something we can, like, help, like grandma, like, share, like, recipes on Pinterest or, like, like Instagram, like granddad tear through Tinder. I don't know.
I don't know about Grandpa on Tinder. I think that I'll leave that to him. But no, those are good options. Hopefully, that's not something that I intend to do with this project. I think that's a lot to teach at one time, but I do see that being an avenue for future projects. So maybe I know if you want to help out the older demographic on Tinder, maybe that could be something for you to consider. But yeah, it's a lot to cover at one time, and considering the level of knowledge I'm requiring coming in, I don't think that it would be something that I could teach all the social media platforms. I mean, there's literally like researching, I was even trying to find for my survey, like other types of social media. There's like ones that I haven't even ever heard of that I just don't know. So, Brooke and then
so for the community center one where they don't have laptops provided already, and you talked about portable devices, are you going to be considering like iPads and smartphones in that? Because isn't the layout different, and like how would you account for that?
Well, that's again where a lot of the individuality from the one-on-one interaction with the volunteers would come into play a lot. I'm hoping that a lot of them will have a device, in which case I already know some basics about how to use it. And if not, I'm trying to get devices donated such that they would all be the same and on the same platform, and that would help alleviate some of the differences. But for the most part, a lot of it's the same. It wouldn't follow the screenshots quite as well because those are all taken from my laptop, but the general idea is the same, and hopefully with my help and the volunteer support, they can do that. But yeah, that would be interesting for me to consider maybe doing it from an iPad or a phone so that I can have materials specifically for that. That would be a good idea. Thank you. Yes, guys.
Is anyone else in other communities or regions doing work like this and then publishing the effects of social media on loneliness, or is that something that you're attempting to discover?
Right, it's not completely novel data that I'm trying to collect. There have been some, but none to the same exact type of intervention. And they've seen, like I was saying, with the internet, the same with social media, decreases in loneliness and increased contact. And that's really what the aim is here. I want people to connect with their kids who live in states far away, or friends who they've moved away from, and things like that. And I just want to give them the tools to be able to do that. And that's what those other programs have done: increase their number of contacts, decrease their loneliness, and increase social support. So, yep. Oh, yeah, Scott.
For the classes that would be standardized, the ones at the community center where you're
Yes.
all on the same computers and everything, instead of relying on them reporting when they accomplish a goal, would you consider using, say, an extension to whatever browser you choose that will automatically track and log when they perform a particular task?
No, I haven't really considered that. That could be something that I looked into, but really those would be more, it'd be more self-report things that they're saying, oh yes, I spent 3 hours on Facebook today and I, sent cat videos to my niece and, things like that. Very individualized for the logs. And then the activities, I would just ask them to say, find 5 people that you know and send them a friend request, and then have them write down, how many people accepted or what happened with that. They're just not so much to, it's just to make sure that they're using the platform and that they see where they might have questions before the class ends, because I want them to go home and try it out, and then if there's any issue they can come back to me and say, hey, I couldn't figure out how to do this when I was trying to do it myself. It made sense in class and now I don't know, because I can't tell you how many times sitting in calculus I've been like, oh yeah, super easy, got it, and then I get home and I'm like, oh no, what did he say? So I know that that's a common theme, and so those are less so to test their skills, but more so just so they can see where the stumbling blocks might be and come into class. But I would definitely look into that if you want to talk to me about it. I don't know a whole lot about extinction programs, but if that's something that you think could be helpful, I would be interested in hearing more about it. Yes, Dr. Flake.
This is less a question, more a suggestion.
Okay.
The volunteers that you're going to be using, they may know how to use Facebook, but they may not know how to teach others to use Facebook.
Yeah.
And there may also be differences in the way that you would view security versus how someone else would. Are you going to plan to do any kind of training with them to get them up to speed?
Yeah, that was one of the things on my timeline. I'll have to develop what I want to teach them exactly, but yeah, I think that it would be really important to have, definitely at least for safety, very specific guidelines for what our consideration is for this class as being safe, and what is safe for them to, ways for them to interact with the participants themselves. Also some, like you said, teaching people is completely different, so I think it'll be a learning experience for myself as well as them. I hope to actually use, as I mentioned, my grandfather is a bit of a guinea pig for my materials, say, hey, does this make sense to you? And hopefully I'll be able to learn that way. But yes, I do plan to train them at least to one standardized method, especially for safety, and then also just run them through my methods and what things are going to be expected to do, and ask them to practice and make sure that they have the ability to meet those needs. Yes.
So I saw in your lessons that you plan on teaching them how to log in and then post to walls and then send messages. And I was just wondering if there's any way to, clarify what other people can see that you're doing within social media, because I feel like that's a big breakthrough. You might see somebody like some inappropriate things, and you realize that or that they don't realize that other people can see that, and I think that's a big problem as well.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I plan on having privacy settings in that very first lesson so they can understand what other people can see and what other people can't see. But yeah, when I go through, I'll definitely explain to them that a message goes directly to that person and that person only, whereas a post on a wall goes to whoever you've designated to see it, such as your friends or friends of friends. So yes, I do see that as being a common problem, people posting things where they didn't mean to. So.
And even like people don't know that everybody can see what you like, and be careful in that.
Yeah, and teach them what shows up on their wall. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
I can also suggest maybe lessons on how to edit or delete, and and then maybe some type of discussion about like trolling comments, or now you see your nephew differently because of his political views, or are you going to have any kind of like debriefing at the end of things? Like, did you learn anything you didn't want to learn today?
Okay, yeah, no, I hadn't thought of that, but that is a good topic to bring up. I could definitely incorporate that because I can definitely see that being a problem.
But yeah, I think your mission is great, that it would decrease loneliness and strengthen relationships, but I think you might want to warn them that it could not strengthen some relationships.
Yeah, they might see things they don't want to. Yes. Yeah.
To add on to that, the feelings. Just make sure with the crying face and the laughing face. Like my grandma had trouble with that, and I know a lot of other people.
There's a difference.
Yeah, there's a difference. I would teach them
emphasize
feelings.
That.
Yeah.
Okay. Right, thank you. Oh, in the back.
Well, I really like your project here, and I think it's definitely very interesting, and it's very goal specific in what you want to do, such as decrease loneliness in seniors. But I really think you're underselling what you're doing. I mean, in the sense that you could have. So like when you're writing your grants, maybe even hit up Facebook for money,
Yeah.
So and you could also sell that, like for example, like older people learning, that helps keep their brain more active, and so it helps like stave off in certain cases Alzheimer's kind of thing. And studies have shown that. So that the fact that they're learning something new, it's going to have also health benefits as well.
Yeah, thank you. That's a very, very good point. I appreciate that. Yes.
Mine's like maybe I guess a suggestion or I guess a question is if you maybe would put like a small lesson or like tidbit about slang language or like texting language on Facebook. It's like my grandma texted us the other day and said, not the other day, a few months ago, and said like grandpa's in the hospital, LOL. And she meant lots of love. so maybe like a small component that teaches them like LOL means laughing out loud now, not lots of love. Just small things, because they read that on like Facebook, and my grandma was like, "What does that mean?" And it means something totally different now.
Yes, good point.
When to use that, and when not to.
Yeah. Yes, appropriateness. Thank you. Yeah, Brooke.
Maybe going along with Maddie's suggestion, you can make like a little dictionary of like the different emojis and like when it's appropriate to use them.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
Like the texting language and slang.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And that could be what it's handouts.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's very good.
So, with Facebook combating loneliness, are you just doing a survey at the end, or like are you going to be asking them, because some people might be taking this class not necessarily because they feel lonely, but because they want to be a little bit more internet savvy. So are you doing any sort of survey before they take the class and then comparing those results with the survey after they complete the class to kind of compare those numbers, or are you just doing something after?
Right. Well, I plan to administer the same test before and after. Hopefully that's the reason for the gap, that they won't be sensitized to what they responded before. So they'll receive the same pretest that asks them things like, how experienced are you with Facebook, prior to the class? And then at the end, they'll be asked, how savvy do you feel? How do you feel about your skills now, and how much they use the resource, and what other social media sites they have to get their idea of their knowledge level. And then also, both times they will be tested on their level of loneliness. So the questions, like I mentioned, I feel isolated, or things like that, or I feel connected to others. They'll rate those, and that'll be done both before and after the class in order to compare if there was an effect.
And will the survey be like short answer kind of setup, or is it just kind of numbers like 1 to 10?
Most of it will be a Likert rating scale. So how strongly do you feel on a scale of 1 to 7 or whatever about this following statement? Strongly agree, strongly disagree. Some will be, there will be some like fill in the blank. And I also want to open up a section for comments because I want to know, their personal feelings, just to see what I can gain from that. I don't really plan to evaluate that, make that part of my evaluation of the project and their loneliness, but I think that would be good to know how the project went. But most of it that will be used for analysis will be strictly the Likert scale and selecting all that apply. So if that's all, thank you all very much.